Okay.
You know, he's a fun personality to have around, and obviously constantly a grinder too.
Right. Peli Kirb0. So, I've been having discussions, and anybody I've asked has sort of hinted at, I've got a theory that this might theoretically be the single worst match of the game.
Yeah, we were talking a little about this before,
Like-
weren't we, Joycey?
like-
Because so
It's awful.
Stubby and slow versus fast and disjointed?
yeah,
Yeah.
basically. So how does Kirby catch Sonic? Can
surprised
someone tell me?
I'm surprised there's no like start, like if it's really that bad, I'm surprised that there's no like switch to the Mario. I know they're working on the Mario. So maybe Kirby's got something in the bag.
Hey,
Don't know.
Yeah, we were
You've got-
theorizing a little bit about the Mario. It was like, I think Kirb0 was warming up at the Mario. I could be
Yeah,
lying
so
there, but I've heard some rumors.
So when we interviewed him earlier on, Kirb0 mentioned that he was warming up the Mario, but he believed that he was going to be having Jezzo.
Right.
And of course, Jezzo finally making that upset over Peli means that he's got Peli instead. I feel like the Mario will come out for at least a game. And the thing is, you know, we've mentioned this matchup. I've seen that Kirb0 has beaten Sonics before because obviously he is an incredible player. But I think the thing is with Peli is that Peli's not the kind of player to go, oh, it's a low tier character, I'll be fine. Like, Peli recognizes the strengths in each and every character, and he crafts his game plan accordingly. So, and like Peli is not afraid to play defensive and spin dash as often as he needs to if it means playing the matchup correctly and having the best shot of winning. And I think, honestly, in each and every game, the first stock is going to be the real sort of turning point. It's going to come very, very early, and whoever gets that first stock is going to be having a much, much easier time for the rest of the game.
I mean, it's like, it's especially with this matchup, as you said, like, obviously Peli, as any Sonic would have a tendency to disengage once they get some form of a good lead. But as you said, first stock, I think it dictates the pace of maybe not even just the game, but maybe the whole set. Because it will affect mentality, it will affect how people realize they can get kills. Wowzer, that was so close. But, like, in a game, whoever gets this first stock literally forms the other person's game plan for them, which is going to be so weird to see in real time.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like it's kind of showing already, actually, like, especially what you were saying, Joycey, about kind of Peli kind of like going into, like, he recognizes that, like, yeah, it's a low tier character, but like, I feel like he's already shown that he like has like respect on Kirb0's name, really. Like, he's not like going in guns blazing. You know, he is very much just sort of played this, okay, I'm going to be very sort of slow, I'm going to wait for more opportunities, and like, he, kind of similar to what he does in most matchups, actually, like, very sort of cold and calculated, and that's exactly what he's doing here. He's not sort of gone like, oh, low tier character, you know, I beat this easy. Like, no, he's just playing the matchup as it should be.
Oh
He's
no!
playing
Oh my god!
I think that Spring, even if it didn't quite save him, it may have given Peli a much better opportunity. But this is what I'm talking about, right? The first kill was an up throw at 180%, and over 3 minutes were gone.
Exactly.
We're like nearly halfway through the game's
genuinely,
timer,
we're nearly, we're
and
getting
one
closer.
stock's been taken.
Yeah.
We are in. I know I said it last set, and it wasn't that slow, but I feel like this is going to be a slow burn.
This is because, like, obviously, like, Peli is, you know, kind of what we said about respect, but equally, like, it's also, Peli does not want to risk getting caught in one of the classic Kirby combo strings, because it can happen quite easily. You know, against a lot of characters, you just start getting stuck in it, and that's when the damage forms.
Yeah, it almost feels like Kirb0's game plan has to be a notion of, like, I'm going to get in, and then once I'm in, refuse to let you go.
He has to catch landing.
I've got to keep you close.
I think it's the main thing.
Yeah.
He really has to. Oh my
Oh
god,
my
I love the down air. I expected it, but I love it still. Because, like, you had... It's kind of what we're saying, actually.
Yeah.
Like, you have to capitalize on any opportunity you get.
Exactly.
Especially with landings. I mean, that's how we saw the first stock went, actually. Is actually just Kirb0 just charging it from halfway across the stage just to catch as Peli was coming back down.
I definitely feel that. Peli, it's almost like, weirdly, it doesn't look as patient as it actually is. Because both of them are constantly flitting around under the platforms or on platforms. They're using their movement options to almost taunt the other one to approach. Okay, that was a very clean edge guard. Obviously, Kirb0's slow airspeed, meaning he can't really do much about that. But this is what I mean. Like, here, they're both actually playing really patient, but there's rarely a moment where they both literally stop what they're doing.
Now it's just, you know, Kirb0 being a stock down now means that it is way, way harder. And even though Kirby has got some kill power to him, at 62%, it's not quite at the point where Peli should be scared, you know? And we can see it just Peli electing to keep to the siders of the stage. He is fully aware of the timeout win condition. We've got less than 2 minutes on the clock, and he knows that, you know, Kirb0 has got to have perfect timings and almost like work so much harder just to even be on the same stock. Never mind make up this percent deficit that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think the scariest thing about Peli is that they do not care about like the other opponent, the opponent. They're gonna sit there with a lead. They're just gonna keep holding it. But apart from that,
Whoa!
the stock's gone, and it could be big for Kirby if they can get that any extensions going. But like we said, Peli is just really willing to hold that lead. So they're just gonna keep spin dashing over and over.
Yeah, this is dangerous territory actually now, because like, again, Peli has to be kind of what you're saying, Jet, actually. Like, Peli has to be very careful right now. If he gets caught on one of these strings, I mean, there is not actually that much percentage separating these two.
Yeah, and even then trades are not what you're looking for. Kirb0 is looking for these clean hits. There's a 60%, a bit more than that now, but this is the thing, a little bit more percent, and then Peli is gonna die to something like a forward smash hard read or just anything of that nature. Again, Kirby, he's little, but he's got some might to him. He has got a good amount of kill power with the right positioning, but 30 seconds on the clock. You've got to make something happen.
Yeah, Kirb0's got to make some plays though, because I mean, kind of as we've been talking about it was pretty close to percentage, but since then, Peli has been playing. You know, he's got like a lot more aggressive. He's got a lot more percentage on. Obviously, Kirb0 sitting at 146% right now. Peli at a mere 65 with 5 seconds to go as well. You know, Peli is going to be, you know, literally jumping away the first at the end as well, just to send him down. But that is, of course, a Peli win in the timeout.
I want to really give Peli some credit for that. In that last 30 seconds, it was always a different kind of camping. Throughout the first 6.5 minutes, it was going from ledge to ledge, and then back to ledge, and then back to ledge. And then suddenly, it was the 2 platforms that he was camping in between. Yeah. And the thing is that with Kirb0, he then had literally 30 seconds to figure out this new way of camping and how he was going to do it. And he just wasn't able to in that period of time. And I think that might be something that we see from Peli. It's this mix-up of the way that he's camping. And particularly if you've got all of this data, like by the time Kirb0 sort of clocks, okay, he's going from platform to platform to platform, maybe at that point you can change it up again. But one on the board thing is, looking convincing from Kirb0, I have to say, you know, was very, very close to making that comeback. Yeah. Despite being like nearly a stock deficit as well. You know, going all the way down for that down air, which we didn't get a chance to speak about, but Darks and I exchanged a
very good
bewildered look of how good that read was. And the thing is with Kirb0 is that people talk a lot about, say, you know, like keeping the ace up your sleeve, right? You know, when you've got like a trick that's going to work once a set, you really only want to bring it out when it's going to get its maximum value. And the thing is with Kirb0 in particular is that in this matchup, you've got like 2, maybe 3 aces up that sleeve. And I feel like that low down air was one of them. And it's going to be really picking these moments where at the crucial clutch point where you can take a game, where you can take a stock, then you've got to use them. Otherwise, Peli's going to run away with it, as he is right now, only 20% smart.
Yeah, I mean, just Kirb0 hanging on a little bit too long as Peli does just punch away this blue puffball. But now, of course, this is tough now, because Peli does not need to engage at all.
Alright, so back to the ledge-to-ledge camping, right?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, when we say, like, strap him for a long one, like, yeah, we're going to be seeing our viewers, like, tanking the absolute fucking bin right now. But
No. It's,
I mean, I like, all jokes aside,
really.
it's like, it's sort of controlled, calm gameplay that, like, a lot of people do actually sort of need to show respect for, because, like, camping's not easy. Like, genuinely, that might sound like a bit of a hot take, but, like, 'cause, you know, it's just, just stand there and do nothing. No, camping effectively is not an easy thing to do, and not a lot of people can do it.
It's also like, have you ever tried to scrap with Kirby?
Yeah.
It's terrifying. The little thing.
Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that is just, that's ultra tough. Like, that's that's quite a mountain for Kirby to climb because, yeah, this, again, like, when we talk about Peli not needing to engage before, well, I mean, it definitely doesn't need to now. But Kirby does find a stock.
I mean, mountains are steep, but this is just a vertical climb at the moment. Trying to take, you know, an entire stock lead on Peli, trying to overcome that. And the question now becomes of, how is Kirby going to conserve his energy? Because he has got to do, like, he's got to use a lot of energy just to get anything started. And there was a real part of me that thought maybe he would just give up the game 2 to conserve energy for the game 3. But the fact that he's continuing fighting, also at this point in bracket as well, I suppose it's, you know, this could potentially be your last set, right?
There's one thing to consider about stamina and about this whole thing of like, I'm going to conserve my energy for potentially my last game of the whole tournament. There's another thing to be considered about almost cracking the formula. Like, because it feels like Kirby hasn't really got an answer for when Peli's doing something like this. Kirby is almost counter-camping and waiting for Peli to get bored and come in. If Kirby, even if they have discounted this game in their mind, spends this time being like, how do I stop this happening in the next game? And then trying out what my responses are going to be. This could be, partly it could be for smarts, and partly it could be for intel.
You're absolutely right there. Just, you know, and that's the decision you got to make, right? Do you conserve that energy and just go into the next game with a little less data, or are you doing what Kirby's doing now? Is like, even though, like, yes, realistically, the comeback is extremely unlikely, Kirby is going to be able to catch some of these habits, is going to be able to, you know, pinpoint together certain situations that he can create where he can get those hard reads to be able to seal those stocks, and then use that in game 3 and beyond. Again, it is a, you know, a vertical skyscraper that you've got to climb with your bare hands, but Kirby is the one willing to at least attempt it.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think the spin dash charge noise has embedded itself in my mind. Even when Peli's not doing it, I think I can hear it.
I'm going to hear it in my sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I am going to close my eyes.
Not again, Peli!
Also, question, right? And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I'm not exactly a Kirby specialist. Hell, who I don't see this character ever.
Is there any bar Kirby like the 2
Kirby.
others in Europe?
Yeah, right. Question. So we have seen the Kirby's displayed that Inhale can stop a spin dash coming towards it, which is a really cool thing to know. Would there be any kind of gain from Kirby actually using homing attack? Would it be a good intro? Would it be a good way to edgeguard when they normally couldn't?
I think because, like, homing attack in itself is not actually, like, that great, even for Sonic.
It's like an edgeguarder in that
Yeah. I think, like, Kirby has quite correctly identified that having the command grab and the inhale just to stop the spin dash, which is something that Sonics absolutely love to do, as we know, is kind of why he's not opted to go for it, because you're sacrificing something that can shut down a very crucial move of your opponent and gaining an ability that even the Sonic mains don't really use themselves. There is, certain merit that maybe sometimes it could catch them by surprise, but there is still a lot of startup to it. There's a lot of charging, and, you know, it can catch, it can take a stock, but just overall, it's not really worth the trade-off.
Oh, and there we go. That's finally going to push it to this game 3 finish. And we're, well, maybe not game 3 finish, it's the game 3 attempt.
Ironically enough, I feel like that situation there was exactly the point where you could use homing attack. If you could get it on like a really late, if you could just get like a quick kill, taunt to get rid of it, and then have that command grab back again, it could be just one of those where, like, in the moment you get it once for an edge guard, really high percent, get rid of it, you know, the inhale, the command grab, back on the table.
I can also say Kirby's definitely not the kind of person to not do that. Ignore the double negative, you know what I meant. I literally, because there was that tweet doing the rounds of like, Smash player, tweet your favorite clip you've ever done. And Kirby did one that was glorious. Did you see the
that
Sephiroth
clip.
one? Sephiroth's shield break, then charges a fully charged neutral beat, it gets halfway traveled, they taunt to get rid of the hat which deletes the projectile, and then suck and cut to the Sephiroth off stage. Like,
that was actually, like, I saw that and I was like, oh my god, those kids move.
Yeah! So, hey, exactly for that reason, do not count Kirby out. There is still juice left in the tank, and for as long as there are stocks ready to be used, the game and the set is not yet over.
And I've got to say as well, is obviously the one thing you'll notice here is there has not been a single switch off the Kirby. Like, Kirby obviously believes highly in his character, you know, obviously taking a tag inspiration of it as well.
Yeah.
Surprise, Kirb0's based on Kirby, in case you didn't know at home.
Also their favorite game on their player cards.
Exactly.
Back from the player, and yeah.
So, no, I mean, Kirb0 just believes in his character, knows its strengths, and is like, obviously just going to try and see it off to the very end. And I mean, the loyalty and the mastery of his character is showing right now, as Kirb0 does hold the first lead, I think, of the entire set.
Yeah, another ace up the sleeve shown there, just going for that lateral. We hadn't seen it in the entirety of the first 2 games. And again, waiting for that moment where he could get a stock from it and getting his money's worth. And now Peli is behind for the first time in the entirety of the set. And we're going to see how Peli's game plan changes. And you know what I'm not hearing, Daleks? You know what I'm not hearing?
What are you
that
hearing?
spin dash
It's
sound.
gone!
It's
We're free!
gone.
So why do you reckon it's gone, Joycey?
I think because Kirb0 is so good at playing around it, I feel as if Peli has also, you've got to try and get that kill, right? You can't just, we're seeing it here and there to try and link it into the forward air, but for the most part, we are seeing Peli electing to go for more throws off stage, go for more, that we're seeing a lot of back airs being thrown out. That would definitely kill Kirby at this point, but we are just seeing the sheer difference between these players and between Kirb0's playstyle, how much more confident he is with that stock lead. You can just see the fact that already he's got 75%. He's getting more opportunities to go for these little 2-3-piece strings and get that damage going more and more often. I feel as if this is a different Kirb0.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's kind of playing with a whole new level of energy right now. Actually forcing Peli into a bit of a back foot. Obviously, Peli's sitting at a quite high 81, and I love that air dodge to avoid the spin dash. Kirb0 still hanging on 151. I mean, we joked earlier about, Kirb0 hailing, a box of lead or something like that. Definitely was what he was doing before he lost that stock.
Definitely some lead in those shoes as
Yeah.
well. The up tilt killing at 150%. I think that's the wild part. And again, goes to show how well Peli knows his character, where everybody's got that typical idea of what Sonic's kill moves are, but having the awareness to think, okay, on a light character at 150, I know that this niche move is going to kill. It's such good awareness. And now this is a real important part. That sort of little extra part of pressure changes when, for Kirb0, previously, it was about playing to not die. When you're at 160%, you don't want to be running into Sonic's kill moves. Now, you're playing a different game because damage does matter, as opposed to at the end of the stock where if you take an extra 20% but don't die, it's fine, you're at kill percent anyway. But the pressure and the sort of tone of the set begins to change a little bit, and Peli is less than 10% away from regaining this lead after all the hard work that Kirb0's done.
Yeah, I mean, literally, as we've been talking, Peli has just gradually, bit by bit, been able to even this right back up. Obviously, sending Kirb0 off stage as well to spring. Going to be caught by it, but a back air to the face, and Peli has taken over once again, taking away the lead. And now putting himself in a favorable spot where Kirb0 needs to try and take the stock.
Honestly, it's just devastating, right? It's the fact that you've put in this hard work, you've been, prepping, you had that stock lead, and you were playing it so well, and then Peli just manages slowly but surely to just really bring the reins back in. And I'd like to point out, why are we talking
That was
here?
close.
Now, why are we talking in here, Peli? But I want to point out that Peli was at about 70-80% when Kirb0 lost his first stock. And this is just, again, I think that pressure got to Kirb0 when the game plan went from avoid the kill moves to avoid all the moves. And it's just, you could just see the difference in mentality, and now that sort of great almost tower that Kirb0 built around himself is crumbling before our eyes.
It's basically times like this that you really cannot fault Kirb0 for playing patient. And look, sometimes it pays off that Nair, popping that stock off, and all of a sudden it's looking a little bit more even than it did before. Because you can't fault his patience. This is their tournament lifeline.
Yeah.
If they drop this very stock, it's goodbye and good night to one of Scotland's capacitors as they will walk out that door for the last time. They're fighting to stay alive, and they are doing a damn good job at it. They've almost evened it out, but Peli gets the reversal and looking to make it short. Look at Kirb0 go!
Yeah, I mean, I can't lie. Literally seconds away from death there. Like, you saw Peli winded up that forward smash. but the down air just snuffing it out. And I mean, I was going to say, Dallas, that there was just one combo string away from being even. That is certainly what has happened. But Kirb0 still needs to find a way to finish this up as Peli smells blood in the water and is trying to take the set 3-0.
Seeing it here once again, a similar story to game 1 where Peli's got a bit of a lead as we've just passed into the final minute of game 3. 55 seconds on the clock, and once again the onus is on Kirb0 to make something happen here. You know, only 40% in it at the moment, made a little bit less by that Nair. Kirb0 once again sharking Peli, just trying to get any kind of percent, but we're seeing a repeat of what happened in the game 1 where it's the platform to platform camping.
Oh no!
That's gonna
No
be
way!
Kirby's still alive!
This is an edge of your seat game. Kirb0 literally only living with the willpower to keep going.
The very last bit of the dash attack as well connecting. Like, you can see the Kirb0 is really trying to catch these landings, but we are coming down to the clock here as well. There's not much damage to separate them. Is this going to be the back throw? Still not enough, but that's a bit more damage tacked on.
5 seconds left on the clock.
Oh
Kirb0's got to make a miracle happen right now. And with 3, 2, 1, Peli
Bye-bye.
just knowing the perfect way to seal that out, just drifting away, knowing, again, Kirby's awful air mobility, putting that final nail in the coffin as, despite how tantalizingly close that game 3 was, not managing to get on the board, bowing out at 9th with Peli advancing into top 8 loser side.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, still a really, really good showing from Kirb0. Honestly, I mean, like we said it before, that matchup looked tough, but I mean, it really did.
I'm really surprised Kirby decided to stick with that matchup.
Genuinely,
But Kirby was
but-
making moves on game 3.
Yeah, like, I'm going to say, this is kind of what we talked about before. Like, you know, we kind of expected the Mario to come out potentially, you know, because it was looking quite rough. But then in that game 3, like, honestly, Kirb0 showed that he can do it. Like, that genuinely, that third game was down to just whoever was able to find that final hit.
Hey man, I'm just saying, one more minute on the clock.
Yeah.
We could have seen a completely
Honestly.
different game.
Yeah,
That
honestly.
is true, though. That is true.
I think that's the thing as well. In terms of the Mario pick, I don't think Mario does that. Like, it obviously does like a bit better. He's a much better character, but I think Sonic still
tough.
beats Mario
It's still tough,
fairly
yeah.
convincingly.
Especially like when it's a secondary as well, like still being
Right,
grinded
yeah.
out. Obviously, I think like I do respect kind of sticking with the Kirby. Like, it's tough, but in the end, like against a player like Peli as well, you just want to like ride it out with your main, you know, just to see what you could do. And while it didn't work out for Kirb0, obviously, like I said, it's still a really good showing and a good run today as well.
That it was.
And all this weekend.
Yeah.